Welcome everyone. So how we doing? What I beg you to be down noise of course. Please let me know if you can hear me.
The Bluetooth device is ready to pair.
Please can anyone hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
I can hear you, sir.
Okay. Okay. Please let me also know if you can see my screen.
Yes, I can see your screen.
Okay. So I was the full exercise. I've not seen anyone that tagged me to it. Was it that difficult? I think I only saw like maybe one or two. So how was it? Vanessa, um, and please, anybody in this call, has anyone done that exercise for yesterday? I think I only saw like two persons.
Yes, I've done mine.
Okay, Chinwe, okay.
Yes, sir, I've done mine.
Mercy, okay. Any other persons?
I've done mine too.
Oh, okay, I've not seen it. Have you guys tagged me?
Oh, yeah, I'm going to. I haven't posted it, so I'm going to post it.
That's
But
good.
I've done it.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay, I'll check. All right. Okay, so today we want to dive into Bootstrap. All right, so we want to go into Bootstrap. Rafa, I beg. So we want to go into Bootstrap, and Bootstrap is also like CSS, right? Or is also CSS, but a framework of CSS. All right. So Bootstrap is a framework, and there are other frameworks, CSS frameworks we have. So like we have, some of you might have heard stuff like Tailwind CSS. So there are different CSS frameworks, but the one that we chose for this bootcamp will be Bootstrap. Right. So the Bootstrap framework was Bootstrap framework was invented by two Twitter, did I say employees or workers? So they were working at Twitter at the time, and so they discovered that when they are building their websites, right, they noticed that there was a regular pattern in what they were building. Like if you look at X now or Twitter, you know that most of the things they are actually repetitive. So they saw that they had the same styling all over and all over again. So instead of writing the same styling code, remember how we used to write CSS in our style.css. Instead of creating a different file for every kind of CSS, alright, for every styling, they just created more like a template, alright. So once they need a particular style, or when they need a particular class, they can just call it and it will give them the style they want or the look they want. So that is how Bootstrap works basically. So they are pre-made styling. They are pre-made styling, and they are just there in a particular file that you can use in your documents, and to give you a nice design. So it helps you fast track your design process, right? It makes your design process faster. So instead of you writing a code from scratch, you can just use the CSS framework, which is Bootstrap, and use it in your documents, right? So let's look at some instances how we can use this Bootstrap in our in our own code. So let's go to our VS Code. Let's create a new folder for today's class. So come here and let's create a new folder. So we'll call it day 5. Call it day 5. Then in day 5, we want to create a new file called index.html. Alright. We want to add our normal HTML codes. Yeah. So I can just title this and call it Bootstrap. I call it Bootstrap. So let's give it a heading here. I can say H1 and I'll title it Bootstrap. So let's save that and view in our live server. In our live server. So before we proceed, I also like to share you this link. It's about how you can use Bootstrap, the documentation and everything you would need. So it's a document about Bootstrap. So I'll drop it in our Google Meet chat so you can see. Okay. Drop it in the chat. Let me also drop it on our WhatsApp group. So I've dropped it there. So what this site does is it basically tells you how Bootstrap works and how to use it in your HTML documents. So to add, to link the Bootstrap to our HTML documents, we'll use this link tag. Alright. Remember when we were talking about CSS, we talked about internal and external CSS. So linking this Bootstrap now is another way of saying external CSS. So we are going to add this link now to our HTML code. So instead of the CSS to be in our own local development environment, it's being stored externally in a cloud server. So we are just going to put the code there. I'll paste it there, and as you can see, this is the link to link Bootstrap to our HTML document. So let's use an example to see how Bootstrap works. So, and please don't forget how I linked this, because in today's project you have to also do the linking yourself. Remember, to link your Bootstrap to your HTML document, you copy it, you click on this clipboard icon, then you go to your index.html file and you want to paste it here in the head tag. So what we want to do now, we want to go to our docs section, click on docs, that is documents. Then you see you can go through this document in your spare time about how Bootstrap works. So let me go through this first line. It says create a new index.html file in your project's root, which is what we did. Then you want to include Bootstrap, CSS and JS using the link tag, which is also what we did. So what we want to do is that we want to get some pre-made code for a component. We want to build something, but we don't want to write the index.html file by ourselves. We can come to the components section here. So if I come to this place and I click under components, you will see different pre-made codes that we can use in our HTML documents. So this is for an accordion. This is for a carousel. So let's say you want to create a carousel in our website. You can come to this place, and as you know, a carousel is the same thing as a slider. So this is what it will look like. If you click on it, you can slide through. Then you have your code here to create that carousel. So as if I wanted to create the carousel, I'll just copy this code and paste it in my body section in the HTML document. So for our example, we want to use a card. We want to add a card to our index.html. So I'll just click on card. So let's wait for that to load. So this is what our card will look like. So what we want to do is we want to copy the HTML code. To copy the HTML code, you come here and click on this copy to clipboard icon. And then we want to go back to our index.html file in VS Code. I'll come here and I'll paste this code. But before then, I want to create a div. Alright, I want to create a div. So a div is a container which we want to use for we want it to contain our code. So what I'll do is I'll paste that code there, the one we just copied from Bootstrap for the card section. Let me take away our H1, so we just have the card section in our code. So what I want to do now is I'll click on Ctrl S and I'll open it using our live server. So this is what we have, and you can see it's very simple. We didn't have to write much code. All I just had to do was copy and paste the code from Bootstrap into our index.html file. And if you notice, I didn't actually write any styling. There's no style.css folder in this particular VS Code. So where is the styling coming from? Because if you look at our code here, we have an image, alright, which is broken. We have an image which is broken, and that is because we have not linked an image to it. Then we have another div in between, alright, and inside this div we have an h5, an heading of h5. So if we look at our browser, we see the h5 there, which is card title. Then if we go back and we look at this, we'll see that we also have a paragraph which says some quick example text to build the card title, which is what we also have here. Then the next thing we also have is we have an href, alright, a link, but it has been styled to look like a button, and that's why we have this button appearance here. So if we should click this, it should link us somewhere. And like I said, if you notice, we didn't necessarily have to write any style in our VS Code. The styling that is coming in to style this our particular button is coming from Bootstrap, right? So like I said, there's some already pre-made styling in Bootstrap that is giving us the styling that we have currently, right? So it just makes it very easy for you to write your code and style stuff. Now, if you look at it here, if you look at that button section or the link section, you see that it has a class. Where is this class coming from? From Bootstrap. So somewhere in Bootstrap, this particular class, btn and btn primary, has been created, and that is why we have this particular button. We have this particular button. With the background, blue background, and it has a border around it. So that is how we get able to get this styling for this our link. So what we want to do now is we want to add some, let's say we want to create a card, because if you look at this design now, it's not complete. We are supposed to add some things into it, like the image is not showing, and I also want us to also make the card to appear in the center of our screen. It should be at the middle. So what we can do is, as usual, we are going to create a folder for images. So let's create a folder for images. So I'll just title it images. Alright, then I want to get an image. Let me go to my file manager. Then I want to, let me see where I can get that. somewhere in my code here, in my folder rather. Okay, Bootstrap components. Bootstrap intro. So this is the image I want to use. I'll just copy that out. Let me also open what we want to achieve. So this is what we are trying to achieve using Bootstrap. Alright, this is our goal image. We want to add this flower, and we also want to center it. We want to center the card to be in the middle of our screen, to be in the middle and also at the center. So I'll copy this flower image and move it to our project folder, which is inside this PC, and Web Design BootCamp. Then under Web Design BootCamp we have day 5. Then we have images, and I can just paste the code there, the image rather. We'll go back to our VS Code environment, and if I click drop down, you see that we have our image right here. So let's add the image to our code. So what I want to do, I want to use / images, then I want to select our flower image. So I'll click on Ctrl S to save, and yep, here we go. So we have our image right here. So how can we style this now? Because from the previous styling I came with from Bootstrap, it doesn't make it appear like our goal, in which we want the card to be centered and in the middle of our screen. So what that means is that we have to write some native CSS. What I mean by native CSS is the normal CSS we have been writing in our previous classes. So we have to add that CSS using internal CSS. I want to write that CSS in here. Right. So can someone remind us, if we want to write CSS internally, where are we going to write it? Is it in the body section or in the head section? Okay.
In the head section. Body section.
Sorry, it's in the body section.
It's in the head section.
Okay.
The head section.
Alright. The head section is correct. So we are going to add our styling to the head section. That is, so if it was inline CSS, alright, that would have been in the body, but I said internal CSS, so it's going to be in the head section. So what we are going to do, we are going to use our style keyword, style tag, and in between it we want to click enter and write some styling. Now if you notice this, I want you to also take note of this. Notice that I'm writing the internal CSS just below the link from Bootstrap. Why am I doing this? The reason why I'm doing it that way is that when it comes to CSS, there's a kind of hierarchy or cascading. Cascading is like there's a level of specificity. Alright. If I take this my styling and I put it below the Bootstrap link, it will not be more important. So to make our own native styling to be more important than the one from Bootstrap, we have to put it under, alright, so that it can take more relevance than our Bootstrap styling, if you get what I mean. So it has to come down. So anytime you're writing your own native CSS, your regular CSS, make sure you're writing it beneath the link from Bootstrap. So what I want to do now is to add that styling, let's create a class for our div. Let's add a class to our div, and let's say we want to call it a class of flex container. So that is the name of the style we want to give it. And as usual, to select that particular styling, we'll use dot flex container. Dot flex container. Then we want to put our curly bracelets. Then we want to write our code here. So how can we make this particular card to be centered? Right. So the properties you can use. Hello, is someone saying something? Okay, so let's proceed. So I want to add some styling to make our card to be centered.
No, sorry, I've seen the screen before. But it's showing now.
Okay. So what I want to use is I want to use a display property called flex. Alright, a display property called flex. So what does this do? Display flex. It helps us, alright, to create a responsive layout, especially when we are using the div, alright, when we are creating containers. So it's used to create a responsive layout and to create to make it known that our div is like how will I put it? I'm trying to find the best way to explain it. So basically, the display flex is used to create a one-axis responsivity in your website, right? It's just to make your website more responsive when you use the display flex. So it's more like you're creating a flexible design from the word flex. Alright, so the next thing we want to add is we want to use, so if I save that before I write in the next code, if I save that and we view it, we see that nothing happens. Then we want to say, we want to justify our content. We want to justify content and we want to put it in the center. We want to put it in the center. So if we come here and we view the results after adding the code, we see that our code has been put in the center. So what does this justify content do? It helps us to align items horizontally. So horizontally, that is in the x-axis. So you see that it was on this left hand side before, but when I said it should be in the center, it's moved to the center of our screen. So
your voice is cracking.
Okay, is my voice clear now?
And the video is not clear.
Is this the same thing for everyone? Please, is my video cracking? Let me know from others too. Is my voice cracking rather? Please, someone else should respond before we proceed. Let me know. Is my voice clear? You can unmute yourself and respond. Let me know if you are still following. So is my voice clear enough and can you still see my screen? Vanessa, Joseph, please unmute your mic. Let me know if you are still following and if you can hear me clearly. Hello, can you hear me? Can you try unmuting your mic? Or is it not allowing you to unmute? Or you can type in the chat box, let me know. Okay, say the audio is cracking. Is this the same thing for everyone? Adeyeye, Akintoye, and Chidex. So please, can everyone hear me now? And is my audio clear?
I can hear you.
Okay. So please, can you also see my screen now? Can you also see my screen?
Yes, yes, yes.
Okay. So let's proceed. So we said adding justified content center will move our card, right, from the left position to the center position of our screen. So if you notice the movement, is moving it in a horizontal in an horizontal line, right? So now it's at the center, but we want it to look like our goal, which is in the middle. All right, so what we can do is we add another CSS property called align items. Align items. Then we want to also select center. All right, so selecting center will, let's look at it. Still at the center here. So what we can do is we want to use a height. We want to give our card a height property of 100 VH. Alright. 100. What does VH means? VH means view height. Alright. View height refers to the height of your device or your screen. So when we say view height, like the space between here and here, if it was on your device, like your mobile device, let me see if I can put this in a device mode. If it was on your device, the space between here and here is your view height. So when we say 100 view height, we are saying 100% of the view height. So that will by default now move our content to be in the middle of our screen. So that is why we have our contents now centered in the middle of our browser. So we've been able to achieve this, right? So we did most of this stuff using Bootstrap. Then we also added our normal native CSS, that is the regular CSS that we type in manually. Right, so our exercise for today, the exercise for today is you are going to recreate this. So you are going to recreate this using Bootstrap. Right, so you go to, like I said initially, you go to the Bootstrap section, then look for the card section, and card section you want to look for the and get the code and put in your index.html. So what I want you to do is I want you to create a card, but it should be your image that will be here instead of this flower image. So you're going to add your own image, more like a profile image. Then the card title will be about me. Then you put in some paragraph. Alright, you put in some paragraph. Then you also want to edit this button to say visit my profile or follow me. Let me give you an example. Let me see if I have something. Okay, so something like this, you want to recreate this, so you put your image, you place it with your image, then the H1 should say about me, then a paragraph should say something about you, then the text here should say follow me, and it should link to any of your social media handles. Alright, maybe your Facebook, your LinkedIn, or Instagram. So that is the exercise for today. So I'll also drop it on the group. So I think this should be very, very simple to do because I've shown the process. So far, before we proceed, let me know if you have any questions before going to other aspects of today's class. So let me know if you understand what I've talked about so far. Any question?
No, sir, there's no question.
Okay, that means it's totally understood. Alright, so before we also go into the next session, I want to also introduce our other classes, trainings that we usually have. So if you notice on the group, I posted a poll of which training you would like to do after this bootcamp, because we usually have trainings regularly. So our next batch should start in May. So we looking from the poll on the group. Let me open that again. So looking at the poll, we saw that so I was asking which of these training would you like to participate in. So we have front-end web development, back-end web development, full-stack web development, and WordPress web development. So I think the highest number is full-stack web development, followed by front-end web development, then followed by WordPress web development. Right? So it seems many people are more interested in full-stack web development, which involves both front-end and back-end. So for front-end, as we all know, or let me not assume that we all know, so front-end involves your HTML, CSS, JavaScript, and React. Then back-end involves your Node, Express, SQL, right, for your back-end. So that makes up for your full-stack web development. Then also we have for WordPress. So I think there are some people who are interested in WordPress web development, which is a no-code tool. So that means you'll be building fully functional websites using WordPress, so which is also a good tool. It makes your web development process fast, and you can just use drag and drop processes. So, and like I said, if you're interested in any of this, you can DM me and you can also start enrolling. And so for front-end web development, the price was posted on the group, which is 150,000 naira. Then for backend, it's 200,000 naira. Then if you want to do both, like full-stack web development, that will be 350,000 naira for both. But we also have like monthly plans. So let's say you don't want to pay, you don't have the money to pay all at once. You can also pay in installments for the various classes. You can break it into installments so you can follow through. Then for our WordPress web development, it's usually around 100k, but for the sake of this bootcamp, we decided to slash it to 50,000 naira only. So for those who are interested in learning WordPress, you can also enroll, and if you are ready to make payments, you can also make payments for it. So These are the trainings that will be happening just immediately after our bootcamp. So if you're interested, we encourage you that you sign up and you also get started. So let me know if you have any question concerning these classes. All right, let me know if anybody has any question so I can respond to that before we move into other aspects of our class for today. So any questions concerning these trainings?
I have a question.
Okay, that should be Vanessa.
So
Okay.
yes, so in backend, like what programming languages are you offering, like for the training?
Okay, so for backend, we'll be looking at JavaScript, Node.js, Express, and MySQL. Those are what we'll be looking at for the backend.
No Python?
No, no Python, just JavaScript, Node.js, Express, and
Okay.
MySQL. Yeah. But if you want Python, we can
Okay.
always get that done by getting an instructor for that. But the main thing we're looking at is JavaScript, Node.js, Express, and MySQL.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. So please, any other person that has a question? Essay by Mansi. Okay. I'm seeing your hand. You can unmute your mic and let's hear from you. You can speak. Let's hear from you. Essay Bay. Don't know if I'm pronouncing the name correctly. Okay. Any other person? Any other question from someone? Do we have any other question? Okay, so let's proceed. Okay, we have a written question. So she's saying, I have a question. Since we've been using HTML, all our text are aligned to the left. Can we change the alignment? Okay, yeah. So you can change the alignment using the same process. So you can put it in a div container, give it a display of flex, right? Give it a display of flex, then you can repeat the same thing I showed in today's video. So when it's posted on YouTube, you can just rewatch the same process. So you put it in a div, all right? Give it a class of flex container or any name you want to use. Then give it when you are styling it, give it a display property of flex. Then you use the alignment properties, the justify contents or the align items to align it. So that's how you can get it done. Okay. So any other question? Alright, so I guess that should be all. So the next thing we want to look at today, we want to look at Bootstrap layouts. Let me close this tab. Close this tab and let me leave one open. So Bootstrap layouts. So how the Bootstrap layout works basically is that you have is a 12 column layout. Let me just check on Google if I can get an image I can describe it. Bootstrap 12 column layouts. So going to the images section. Let me see if I can get an appropriate image to describe. Okay, I think this should work. So it's opening. Just give it a while to load. This image is actually blurred. Let me try and get something clear for us to use. This one is blurred. Okay, I think this is clearer. So if you look at this image, let me try and open it in a new tab. So it will take more space. Yeah, this is better. So the Bootstrap layout works in a way in which we have 12 columns. Alright, so if you should count this, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Alright, so these are 12 columns. Now if you want to divide it into two, like divide the 12 columns into a group of two, we are going to have 2 columns each. Now what the Bootstrap layout helps us to do in our code is that it helps us to make our website more responsive, and it can help us place items within these columns. So let's say I have two things I want to add to my website, and I have 12 columns. I'm using the Bootstrap 12 columns layout. So let's say I have 2 items and I want them to take the same space each. I can just simply say the first item should take 6 columns, then the other item to also take 6 columns. Alright, so it just makes it easy for us to position items. So let's say I have like 4 items. I want them to be to take even space. I can say each of the items should take 3 columns. It should span 3 columns in our design. So let's look at the Bootstrap documentation on columns. So so that should be under layouts. Yes, under layouts. Under layouts. Now, there's something we call breakpoints in Bootstrap, and if you look at from my screen, we have a column that talks about breakpoints, and these breakpoints represent the different screen sizes. So let's say extra small. These are for devices that are like very tiny. Remember when we were using Nokia 2626, or we are using Nokia C3 or C1? How many of us remember those kind of small screens? So those kind of screens, their dimension in terms of width are usually less than 576 pixels. Alright. Then we also have another breakpoint for small screens, which is our normal Android phones, which we have now. Our normal iPhones and Android phones. They are small screens, and they usually have a dimension of 576 pixels to 778 pixels. Right, so from 576 pixels and above. So if you look at your phone screen, right, the width, although if you look at some phone screens, some of them are wider, but it's usually like a minimum of 576 pixels in terms of the width, right, and above. Then we have a breakpoint called medium. Alright, so this medium sizing refers to screen sizes for like I want someone to guess that. So if small is 576 pixels, this medium should be for which kind of devices? Which kind of devices will have the medium sizing of 776 pixels and above? Anyone?
Android phones.
For laptop
Okay, someone else?
or iPad.
Okay, iPad, exactly, that's correct. So your iPads and your tablets fall into this medium sizing. So their size is usually within 778 pixels and above. Alright. Then we also have a sizing, another breakpoint called large. And this is where your laptops come in. Alright. Your laptops are usually within a width of 992 pixels and above. And that's why if you look here, we have something that says greater than or equals to. That means equals to 992 pixels and above. Then we have the extra large. All right, extra large refers to desktop computers, those ones that have large screens. So those ones are usually around 1200 pixels and above. Then we have extra large. Let someone guess which one we are referring to when we say extra large. Which kind of screens are we looking at? Anyone? Can someone guess? We've talked about the phone size, tab size, laptop size, and desktop size. So who can guess what this last one should be? Okay. So this last one refers to your TVs. Alright. So you see all those like large TVs, like the TV sizing. So this is the range. So it's usually from 1400 pixels and above. Alright. So that's it. And so basically, why are we talking about these breakpoints? These breakpoints will be used in Bootstrap when you want to give your columns some sizing. Right? You want to size your columns. So we have to take note of these breakpoints so that we want to say that okay, at this certain pixels, this column should break at this point, or this should happen at this particular point. Right. So let's use an example also that will also involve the columns and also the breakpoints. So before I go into that, let me also know if we are still following. So let me know if I'm still audible and you can still see my screen.
Yes, we can.
Okay. So there's this website, abrewy.github.io/bootstrap layouts. So let me drop it in the chat box. Then let me also, okay. We have Google Meet. Oh, this call will soon end. So I'll have to create a new link. So let me do that first. Let me drop this link here. Let me also drop it on our WhatsApp group. Okay. There it is. Let me create a new Google Meet link. So you can leave this and let me end this call now. So let's wait 1 more minute for others to join us. Okay. Okay. So let's continue. Please let me know if you can see my screen.
We can.
Okay. So this is an exercise. So I want us to do it together. And also after this class, you can also do it yourself using the link. So what we want to do now is this exercise is that we want to create what we have here. Alright, so if you look at this design here for these columns, we have 2 columns. Now this columns is in a 12 column layout. Alright, but we know that this is just 2 columns here. This is 2 items. Alright, let's say 2 items. Alright, so since there are only 2 items here, can someone tell us how many columns each of them are taking?
6.
6. So each of them are taking 6 columns. Right. Now what we want to do is we want to replicate. This is what we are going to work on, this particular section here, this blue one. We want to make it look like what we have here. Alright, we want to make it look like what we have here at different sizes. So we want to make the blue columns here look like the green ones in terms of sizing. So what we are going to do is to work that out. We have to make changes to this code here, because this is the code that creates these columns, these blue ones here, or these purple columns. Alright. I don't know if the color is blue or purple, but anyhow, let me just use blue. So this is the code that controls this. So we are going to adjust this by adding some classes to make it look like what we have in the green section. So what we can do is we are going to use the different breakpoints. So let's say we want to make this one look like this at this particular screen size. Alright, let me inspect this by right clicking and inspecting. Let's use the dimension that comes with Chrome inspection tool. If I click on here, we see that it gives us this 320 pixels. If I click here, it moves 375, still in mobile responsiveness. Remember, from our breakpoint, we say that mobile sizing is usually from 576 pixels and above. Right. So this 320 pixels is lesser than 576, but it still falls under mobile. All right. Then if we look at the next mobile sizing, which is 425 pixels, 425 pixels, which is still lesser. All right. Then if we come to the next one here, we have the tablet sizing, which is 768 pixels. If you look at our Bootstrap documentation, that is what we have here, 768 pixels. So from 768 pixels and above. Then if we look at the next sizing, that should be laptop, which is 1024 pixels, 1024 pixels. Then the next one we have is 1440 pixels for laptop. Then we also have one for large screens, which is 2560 pixels. So what we want to do now is we are going to play around with this. So at any point we notice that our blue section is different from the green section. We want to manipulate the code to make them look alike. So I'm going to stretch out this screen, and they are still the same thing. So I'll move to the point where they become different. Keep expanding this. So let me close this. Let me close this inspection too. Then I think this side should be at Excel side. So what we want to do now is we want to add a class called column. Right. So the class for the column layout is COL. Let me type that in the notepad here. COL. Let me expand this so that it's more visible. So COL, that's the class. So what this does is that if we say COL, it means our item
The
should take
Bluetooth device is ready to pair.
our item should take 12 columns. Alright, 12 columns. Then if I say column 2, it means our item should take 2 columns. If I say column 3, it means our item should take, or let me say column 4, our item should take 4 columns, and so on and so forth till we get to code 12, which is 12 columns. But we are not going to use code 12 because col already by default is actually 12 columns, so we are just going to leave that out. But the idea is that whenever we use code 2, code 4, code 6, code 8, code 10, code 12, alright, we are asking it to take 12 that amount of columns. So what we want to do now is we want to say at a certain size, at a certain breakpoint. Alright, so this breakpoint should be Excel. So we want to say at column Excel dash, we want to give it a breakpoint for the first column. Look at this div, we have 2 divs here. We have 2 divs. So the first div here represents this first column here. Then the second div here that we have represents the second column. Alright, so what we want to do is we want to adjust the sizing of each of these items to look like what we have in the green section. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to say col Excel, and I'll say, since we said this is 6, right, and this is 6, I'll just input a number here which is 6. Then if I click on apply changes, you see that it breaks. Alright, so what this code means is that at Excel, we should give it, we should take 6 columns. So that means we can also do the same thing for our other item. Just paste in the same class, that's called Excel 6, and we apply the same changes. So you can see that it's now the same thing with the green items. So that is how we can use the column classes here, the Bootstrap column classes, to make our items take a particular number of columns at a certain screen size. So we are done with this exercise. Let's look at another exercise now. So this is exercise 2. What we have to do is that we have to make this section here, this section to look like this other one that's at the top. So I want someone to tell us what is the number of columns each of these item is taking. First, this column 1, this then column 2 and column 3. How many columns are each of them taking, using your knowledge of the 12 column layouts of Bootstrap? Anyone?
Okay, for me, I think it should be 444. That is 12.
Okay, we can't really say 444 because each of them, they are not exactly the same size. If you look at this one, is bigger than the rest of the two. It's taking more space than the rest of the two.
Okay, so let me say 633.
Yes, correct. 633. So this is taking
So let me
6.
say 633.
Yeah, that's correct. So the first column is taking six column space. Then the second one is taking 3. Then the third item is also taking 3. So what we can do now is we want to make this section below to look like this one that is above. So what we want to do is that our screen size at the moment is Excel. So what we want to say at the Excel breakpoints, we want to give a column Excel. Or let me do something. I think in this exercise, sometimes if you shrink it down, you might have a different sizing. So at different breakpoints, look at these breakpoints now. This should be for the size of a mobile phone. So let's start with this breakpoint before we now adjust to other screen sizes. If you see that once I increase the width, it has also changed its length. If I also increase it again, you see that it has also changed. So what we can do now is we'll start with the smallest screen size, which is the mobile sizing. Then I'll come in here, and so we can say this looks like each of them are taking 10 columns. Alright, each of them are taking 10 column space. So we are going to go into our code, and I will put the class. I'll say col hyphen or dash rather, then SM. Remember the breakpoint for small screen like mobile phones is SM. Then I'll put another dash and I'll say 10. I'll say 10. Then I want to come here and click on apply changes. Call SM10. Okay, it's not responding. Let's see. Okay, let's try something else. Let's say call MD. Still the same thing. Okay. Okay, let's do it this way. Let's try from the larger breakpoints. Then as we go down, we will also adjust it. So let's use the Excel sizing first. So let's say code Excel, that is for large screen, extra large screens. We want to make these to take 6. Alright, so I'll click on apply changes. So that worked. Then I want to come to the second item, and I want to say code at an extra large screen, it should take 3 columns. I'll click on apply changes. That also responded. So I'll go to the next item and I'll also say code Excel, and I'll say 3. Then I'll save. So that works. So let's try reducing it for other screen sizes, and let's see how we can make adjustments to it. So if I bring down the screen, you see that at this particular breakpoint, it has also changed. So these breakpoints could be something like LG. Alright, so let's see, let me change this to LG, and I'll apply changes. Change the other one to LG also, and I will apply changes, and I'll change the other one to also LG. Change the other one to also LG, then I click on apply changes. Now you might want to ask, why am I changing the code? Alright, instead of just creating another class in between. The thing is that we are looking at breakpoints. Breakpoints means that at this certain size and beyond, so at this large size, that is a laptop size, and beyond, like going to extra large and other screen sizes, you should take this number of columns. So even if I go full width now and I increase the size, notice that it still takes the same amount of spacing. So we are saying from a large screen size and beyond, they should take this particular sizing. That's what it means. So if I now diminish the sizing, the width of our screen, and I go down, we see that we also have another sizing. So we have to look at another breakpoint. So to add another breakpoint in our class here, we want to give a spacing, and we want to say col dash, then this should be a tablet size, looking at the sizing. So I'll say MD, and I want to say dots. So the first one is taking a full space, so I'll say 12. That is taking it full length, so that is 12. So that is 12 by default. So I'll go to the next one, and I want to say, so if you look at the example here, this is taking 6 because it's divided into 2. That means the first one is taking 6 columns, then the other one is taking 6 columns. So we'll go to our code and we want to do that. We want to create that. So we say col, then I'll say MD, then I'll also add 6. That should take 6 columns. I click on apply changes. Then we want to repeat the same thing here. Col MD 6. Then I'll save changes. So you see now we have the same thing as our example at that particular breakpoint. So let's reduce the sizing further. Then we see that at another breakpoint, this should be for a mobile device. So let's use the col SM. Use the col SM. So I'll give another space to add another class. So I'll say col, and the breakpoint for small devices is SM. Then I'll say 12. We should take the full 12 columns. Then I want to go to our second item, and I'll say col SM. Then I'll say 6. If I save this, it has taken just 6 columns. Then I want to do the same thing in the third item. I'll say col SM, then 6. If I save that, then we have the same thing. So if I further reduce the sizing, I think this is a smaller sizing, right? So we can say col can I say col 10? Let's see if that will work. Col 10. If I apply changes, yep, so that works. Column 10. So we are saying for the last breakpoint, it should take 10 columns. Then I'll come here and do the same thing for the second one. And I'll say col 10. Save. Then for the third item also col 10. Col 10. Now if you notice that in this last one I didn't input any breakpoints. I just used col 10. I didn't add like SM or MD or something like that. That is because I've already used the breakpoints that I needed. So I can just use the normal column class itself and attach a size into it, and it will still work that way. Alright, so we've been able to recreate for the second exercise. So we have the same thing at different breakpoints of our screen. So what we want to do is we want to do the last exercise. So let's work on the last exercise. So looking at the last exercise, I think the breakpoints here should be col XL. So looking at this first one here, this example here, who can tell us how many columns the first item is taking and how many columns the second item is taking? Anyone? Using your knowledge of the 12 column layouts of Bootstrap. Anyone?
Could it be 210?
Yeah, that should be correct. 210. So let's try that out. So let's see col XL for the first item, col XL 2. Then let me click on apply changes. Yeah, so that's correct, that works. Right. Then for the second item, I want to say col at an extra large screen, we should take 10 columns. So yeah, that is it. That's at that particular breakpoint. Let's now resize our screen. Okay, let me start from the edge. So if I come down here, so this is another breakpoint. So this should be at a large screen, maybe at the laptop size screen. And so let's use the other breakpoint, which is LG. So this should be 4 and 8. This should be 4 and 8. So I'll give a space and I'll say col LG, and the first one should take 4 columns. Click on apply changes. Yeah, so that worked. Then I would say col for the second one, col LG, and I'll say 8. Yeah, so that worked fine. So let's reduce the screen size. So these are another breakpoint. This should be for a tablet. So in the tablet, they are taking equal amounts of columns. So that should be 6 columns each. So we'll say col MD, and I'll type in 6. Click on apply changes. Do the same thing for the col MD 6. Click on save changes. Click on save changes, or apply changes rather. So we have the same thing. So let's also reduce this breakpoint. Let's see if we have something different. Okay, so we have something different at a smaller screen. So use the SM. So we'll say, what should we get? Okay, I think it's already the same thing at that level. Let me see if we decrease it, whether anything changes. Okay, nothing changes, stays the same. Okay, so I think we are done with all our breakpoints then. Yeah, so we've been able to do the exercise together, and we have been able to practice using the 12 column layouts. So what I want you to do under this layout exercise, I just want you to practice it again, right? Practice it again on your own and understand how this thing works, how the 12 column layout works in Bootstrap. So that's it for today, and this should be the end of our class for today. So let me know if you have any questions for today's session before we call it a day. So do you have any questions so far? Does anyone have any question? Let me also know if it's totally understood. Okay. 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 I saw a thumbs up from Joseph. That means he understood. So I guess since no one is saying anything, that means it was totally understood. So don't forget the exercise for today, which is recreate this. Right, use your image, then replace the heading with about me, and the paragraph should describe something about you. Then the button should say follow me and include a link that will link to any of your social media handles. So that's the exercise. So thank you all for joining today. Tomorrow we'll look at more under Bootstrap. We'll design a website, and we'll also look at how we can push our website to GitHub, to a repository, something public that we can share the link to others, to our friends. Because if you look, most of the time we'll be building stuff locally, and we can actually send a link, like a website link, to someone to view what we have done. So tomorrow we'll be looking at how we can push to GitHub repository, and how we can have a public URL for our projects. So that's it, guys. Thanks for joining today, and have a good night. Good night, everyone.
Good night.
Good night, sir.
Like,